Up, guys? Right, we'll kick it off with EU coming into today. I actually really like the positioning. Well, I did like the positioning of EU. It's a little bit, um, yeah, not as ideal right now. It's a little bit tricky, but it was just in a really good spot. But unfortunately, didn't give an entry. So as we know, have induced the decisional of that, a bigger break there. Got a lot of bearish momentum that we're currently following with at the bottom of our new 15-minute external leg, which I'm working inside of that leg with. Um, since obviously taking this low, started to gain a little bit of bullish momentum. We are bullish externally here as well, and this is that really good inducement. So we are in a spot where it makes sense to start buying in this complex pullback of our 15-minute external leg that we've got just here. In terms of what we just induced, though, we did induce the demand to supply that actually created the break. So this is a form of a decisional area. So it very well actually can sell off entirely from here and give us a new leg. However, I do think it's got a lot of potential to come up higher, at least into this decisional area. Obviously, we've got that extreme up there as well. Since inducing that higher, we sold off really quickly. Just had one break and that was it. I was hoping to be able to use this point as a smart money trap to give us some sort of structure to work with and then get in on the back of that. But obviously just melted straight through it. So not as ideal. Our 5-minute leg as well is quite big. Our 5-minute leg, more or less, is realistically that leg just there. Very, very average range. The low is retest of that first internal break, which was retest of the 15-minute external leg. So we've taken retest. We've taken a part decisional area. Very valid to sell off where it is. However, given that we break and retested, I'm actually open to buying off of the inducement of this retest, given that it's around that 50% of Asia area, mitigating this decisional area of that break and then buying up. Now, the criteria that I would need to have to be able to follow along with that outlook and to buy it, I'm going to need price to generate some liquidity in here. However that looks, I just need something to have some sort of an initial target, so I can obviously, yeah, have that liquidity target there to work with for break even. So we'll see what it wants to give. At this stage, it's very bearish. I'm also open to selling through here, given the melt and what we've induced. Maybe able to sell through it. It's a little bit, we're just going to need to generate some structure. So obviously right now we're getting a little bit of a push, which is great. I don't really want to work with anything on the 1 minute. I'd rather it be 5-minute structure. Ideally, what I'd like to see is a little bit of a push up here, have that as retest, come up, induce the retest, work inside of here, and then work with something like that, getting in there. So gonna need to develop some structure, maybe a bit of a later London setup, but I'm happy to wait for it. So we'll just monitor this and see what it wants to do. I don't really want to just work with what it's got on the 1 minute. I feel it's a bit too insignificant for the structure of what we've broken just here. It's the 1 minute's not overly relevant. So I will monitor it. I will see what it does on open. And we'll take it from there. But at this stage, I'm not looking to do anything. If we break that high and then push low again, I am seeing this as forming retest. Going over to GU. GU looks good as well. Interesting divergence. We have now induced the decisional of our hourly external break. Had that really strong reaction since. We've got this area here, which is retest of our 15-minute external. Unlike EU, we haven't swept it. We're mitigating it. So I do see this area as a smart money trap, especially as well, given the reaction that we had on open after inducing the decisional, the lack of liquidity that we've got generated inside of this leg and the slow reaction out of this area does tell us that this area should be a smart money trap. And given that it hasn't got any significance to structure other than it actually being a liquidity point. So looking to buy through it, the only interesting part is just the fact that EU has induced. So if EU is going to drive it, this area will hold given the divergence. So we do have that aspect to it. However, we do have the same sort of area around the 50% of Asia, which you can get that inducement of there. I am ideally going to be able to work with something internally inside of here to get some sort of entry down here. So then buy price up like that. Just really looking to get a smart money reaction out of this point here. That's the plan with it. If we don't get to that and we do just push up, I'm happy to sell straight off the inducement of this retest and take it from there. Obviously, we're generating liquidity here. So whichever way this goes, for me to be able to buy it though, it is going to need to slow down a lot. If we keep coming down like this, I'm not going to have an initial target. I won't be looking to buy it. I want to see price pull up a little bit here first and then give me that sell off so then I can work with this. Ideally, even if it comes up and retests that, I can work with that as my break-even target for buyers. I need an initial target. This straight range isn't going to work for me. Cool. All right, let's have a look at AU. AU is a bit, yeah, how you going? So AU, as we know, is still sitting inside of that bullish leg that we've got just there. We've been going sideways out of this demand area. We can see there's a lot of indecision in the market. It may actually be using this low as retest of that bigger 4-hour break just there. We can obviously come right down to this area, which is the decisional area of that break. And we can obviously come all the way down here as well. Just depends on how deep it wants to run. I think it makes a lot of sense given how much liquidity it's generated here to sell off. And what we've also had as well, following along with structure out of this demand area, we've pulled up, induced the retest of that first break, and then broken structure to the downside, retested, induced retest into the mitigation of our extreme, which has then pushed price down, having that little internal break just there. We've induced the decisional of that internal break, mitigated the extreme area, and now we're starting to get a little bit of a sell-off here as well. So I want to sell it, but we just have no structure here. So I'm more or less just going to let AU do its thing and have my focus on EUGU. The structure's pretty garbage, like realistically speaking, so I'm not keen on doing too much with it. EG is looking quite bullish at the moment as well. So if we understand that the significance of that two divergence with EU, it makes sense for EU to be the one driving the market, which is why we're getting EU inducing and GU respecting its structure. We are generating a lot of liquidity here. We've induced that retest. So we've induced the retest of the first break. Now we're starting to work our way back up, getting good inducements, low, break, inducement, break. So EG makes sense to keep buying, which will push, which will just have EU with its strength over GU. So it's yeah, putting us in a bit of an interesting spot. DXY still reacting out of the decisional of our 4-hour break. So DXY actually makes sense to continue selling, to be honest. You've got your decisional area here of that external break. So DXY actually makes sense to sell. This is retest though, that it's just induced of your 15-minute external break. Hasn't induced anything else or mitigated yet. So you might find it wants to sell off a little bit coming into that, but it can very well buy right where it is, which obviously is going to push EU down, lining up with my analysis for EU sells. So we can understand that the DXY can come down to here. Okay, so it can do this, which will have obviously Euro doing that, the exact opposite. So yeah, it's in a bit of an interesting spot. It's in a bit of an interesting spot. Can buy from here, which will make sense for EU to sell, right? So DXY is in a good spot. It is helping us out just there. We've got no news today, so that's good. We've only got a little bit orange fold. It's a US bank holiday, but that's obviously not going to affect us for the London session. So We'll yeah, keep an eye on these. GU's about to induce and it's got no structure to work with, so it might be sitting on our hands a little bit for this one. EU's not really helping us much out here. So it is a no news Monday. Not going to push anything. Might be a little bit slow price action. We'll just monitor it and see what we get.